Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Coding My Way In. And this week, like I told you guys, I started working on my WhatsApp clone. It's gonna be called Shatter, and I'm not trying to do like nothing crazy. All I want to make sure is that the users are able to register, become users, and through that able to chat in the application. So currently, like I told you, I'm using Next.js, Tailwind, and Mongo DB to make the application. And so far, this is where I'm at. So this is the registration form that I have already been completed, and this is how it will look when the user is going to sign in. So if the user doesn't have a signing, and still there's some polishing to do, but I just want to make sure that I have the basics down. And here's the thing, I know that I could have used like Google Auth or Next Auth to make my life easier, but the thing is, I really want to learn how to do this, like an authentication, how it's done. I just want to learn this because I feel this very important, just in case I ever want to create like my own application and stuff, and I want to have users. But I feel that doing this now is going to give me that foundation just in case that ever happens, because I know I could have just gone the route of Google Auth, but again, I'm learning and I just want to get better at software engineering. And I think being able to create my own authentication from scratch is a good skill to have, even if I don't use it once I start working. But nevertheless, this is the beginning stages. I have this little background. This is how it looks, and I'm enjoying using Next.js. You know, the routing system, I'm getting more comfortable with it. How it works. It was a bit, even though I took the crash course, nothing beats like the really like coding, like working on the application. So it took me like 2 days to really get comfortable, but now I know how the routing works, and I love it so far. You know, I don't have to worry about app router and create a bunch of stuff. I just create the folder, the name of the folder is the path, and I just make sure I link it properly, and I'm good to go. So one of the things that I wanted also to do is really understand Mongo DB, and it's not that I can't like understand it, but there's certain little things that are a little bit confusing if I don't do it like right. And I've actually been tracking the journey. Like one of the things that happened to me was for some reason in my MongoDB, before I even added any user, I was wondering where these names were coming from, because Shatter is the database, this is the database, and these are the documents, right? And I was like, where registration and users are coming from, because I have user, which is here, which is the model, and I also have registration, which is also another model. And that's when I learned that Mongoose, the library, actually makes it automatically for you. Like here, just learn by default, Mongoose pluralizes the model name to determine the collection name. So I have a model called registration, which is this one. And when I check my DB, I see registrations, but I didn't know that Mongoose did that for you. So I learned that this week, and it was funny because I was stuck like for 30 minutes looking for where in the world I typed registration or users. And then when I come to find out is, oh, Mongoose does it to like simplify things, which I think is a very nice touch for the database to do. And then the other thing that I learned, so here's the thing, I have a register and I have a signing, but in the way that the routes are, work is that I only want to use a portion of what I'm using on the registration for the user. So as you can see, the models are a bit different. And let me see here. Yeah, this is the model for the user. I just want to keep the username and the password, and then the registration. So this week I learned how to work around password and password hash, like to make sure when I type a password, it doesn't show up anything that it shouldn't, like a string. So I learned that if I leave required, I literally have to make sure I fulfill this requirement. So if I have it it'll block it. So I was having issues like to insert information to the database because I was having the password hash as required, and I kept trying and trying, and it was like very frustrating. And I was stuck like for like an hour, and then I really sat down and started looking at my code and realized, oh, required is literally because I had the password hash as required, and I was like trying to insert data into my database. I was making that because you gotta make sure with MongoDB you follow this when you have like a strict query. Like, let me show it here. So when you have a strict query, is literally like whatever the database is telling you, that's what needs to be added into the database. And by accident, I didn't know that I had to like unrequired the requirement of the password hash and just keep the password. And now the application is, the database is connected to my registration form from the endpoint. I still haven't done it through here, but if you put this information, for example, you see here, this is my database. You see Naruto, Sakura, Minato, Asuma. As you can tell, I'm a fan of the Naruto series. So if I try to add a new user, let's say Rock Lee, as a post request, boom, comes here. Let me do Jason. So now if we check the database, Rock Lee should be there. So find, and here he is. And as you can see, you see the password, the hash is hashed because that's how I have it on the code base, to make sure when I register to salt and encrypt the password, and to, after you take the password and make it encrypted, to put it as undefined so it doesn't show up on the database. Reason why you don't see password, but you see password hash. So that was very cool to know and to learn to do, because look how cool this is. This is encrypted, it's safer, but the password is actually password complex 1. But the way that the hash works makes it encrypted and makes it look a lot bigger than what it is. So I feel that that was very cool to learn. So what other thing I learned? Yeah, another thing that I'm learning is that since I have 3 purposes with this application: registration, user, and chat. So I still haven't made a route or anything with the chat because I'm still trying to connect my database with everything. So for this upcoming week, the goal is to make sure I'm able to, once I register, everything saves here instead of me using Postman. But I recommend anyone learning to code, if you're trying to test your endpoints, just do it through Postman before you even bother connecting it to your database, because the endpoints help you make sure that everything is working properly as it should. So the other issue that I had yesterday was that my mistake was, I thought, oh, if I create the user, it will automatically go to users. So I kept trying to get a GET request to get the users, but that was not the case. So for this upcoming week, I need to figure out how I'm going to make sure that when I make a new user and is registered, it immediately tells the database, hey, so from registration, now this is going to become a user. So that's the goal for next week, to make sure that registration endpoint and the user endpoint are connected, and there's a communication between the two, and to make sure that registration and the signing page is good to go. And then once I do that, again, it's not going to be nothing crazy. I'm just going to make sure that you're able to talk back and forth with another user, and that's when WebSockets is going to come into play. But other than that, that's what I did this week, and it was very entertaining creating my own, even though I'm not done yet, but working on my own authentication. And I'm very glad with this project because it's completely different than Nissan Experience. So I can't just go like and look over that code and see, oh, let me just copy and paste. No, this is a completely different project, which is what I wanted. I want every project to be completely different than the prior one. So I'm very happy so far. And of course, there's going to be some changes aesthetically, but I just wanted to have this in the meantime. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and see you on the next one. Peace.